Good morning, everybody. So, yeah, I did a meme yesterday that basically explains how the West and developed nations deal with death and cancer in utero, as well as middle of life and then end of life. And I created a meme that says, what is it? Curing death with disease, and then curing disease with death. That is exactly what the whole state of the West and developed nations are doing, is that instead of having high infant mortality rates, Mary Jane McKee, you're sad. Okay. I don't want to make you sad, so I'll take you off my Facebook. But yeah, the high infant mortality rates is based upon the lack of modern medicine, okay? And so the West has created a way to save babies and people by creating modern medicine. All right. So now I don't make you sad anymore. There you go. All right. So yeah, if somebody's sad on my Facebook, I don't want to make anybody sad. So if my stuff makes you sad, I don't want to be harming you in any way. So, all right. Anyways, so how the West deals with cancer, disease, and chronic illness and promoting life is to cure death with disease. So, so anyways, I created that meme and I was, doing all that. And then, yesterday, I have people on my Facebook that are in my group. I know I have trolls. Okay, I know it. And you guys have to know that in my group, we have trolls that are screenshotting whatever it is that I post, whether my videos or whatever I post as far as just questions. And they are, posting that in a public group called it's like a business page called the Jilly Juice Secret Group. So I'm giving you guys a thumbs up. They are getting my information out there. Now they have their own spin on it, of course, but that's okay. They're giving this energy. They're giving people the opportunity to make a choice. And say what you will about my information, people are still going to get the information. However, it's being characterized, okay? But just so you know, everything in my group is for public consumption. It's everything in my group is out there. And I already knew this and I already told you guys. So whatever it is that you post in my group, it's going to be screenshot and put out there for public consumption. So just FYI, okay? So if you don't want something shared to the world, don't put it on Facebook, all right? But I want to make sure I get everything out because everybody deserves to have some kind of awareness and a choice. And so, but I also, if I see somebody, and I know there's people that block me in my group, and I'm going to leave it because I know they are the people that are getting my information out, that are like the trolls. And so I'm willing to, because when you block me, I know, or if I blocked you for whatever reason, but I know that either that you're not doing the protocol or you're screenshotting it for, for other stuff, which is fine because it's another marketing tool for me to get the information out, no matter how it's characterized. So, but when you have somebody on my Facebook that has wanted to be in the group, has given me, morning, Audrey, yeah, thanks. Yeah, but if there's people in my group that have been wanting to get into my group, they paid me $30 back in 2017 or 2018, and they are in the group, and then they're on my page, I listen to my videos because I see them every so often, and then I see them post stuff about turmeric and honey for a cold because it's antimicrobial. I'm like, this person's in my group, they're watching my videos. Why are they posting this stuff on their wall? Why are they posting this stuff on my wall? And so I'm just like, not on my wall, on their wall. And I'm like, okay, so I just put in, I don't say anything, I just put JJ, Jilly Juice, or yeah, do Jilly Juice or something. So, they could have just, ignored it. They could have just left, or they could have deleted it, and I wouldn't care. I'm just going to say, I know what you're posting. You're in my group, but I'm not going to press the issue, but I'm still going to put do Jilly Juice. And it'll be there for however long you let it be there. And then I just move on. However, she had to respond. All right, here we go. It's on. She's like, oh, well, you know, not everybody's ready for the Jilly Jews. They think it's voodoo. And so, you know, that's why I post, you know, turmeric and honey and all this other crap. And I'm like, well, I get it, but if you know that this stuff is poison and you don't think everybody, you know, is going to get the J Jews, why would you push something like turmeric and honey on your friends who have probably major acid imbalances? It's going to cause more issues. She's like, oh, well, it's like, so I'm thinking like, you know, that you're really not getting benefit. You're not really fully committed. You're not getting benefit, and you don't see anything really promoting, you know, you don't really see anything positive with the juice. You're not taking a stand or some shit. I said something like that. She's like, well, I'm not fully committed, and so it would be hypocritical for me to promote something that I'm not committed to. Well, then why the hell are you in my group? She never actually bought the book. She gave me $30 for the website that I had that discussion forum in the website where you had to give me a login and password, or I had to give you a login and password. So she never bought the book, isn't doing the protocol, but she's in there looking at all your stuff. And I'm just like, I don't need that kind of energy. And so I just let her know, you know, through email once I blocked her on my Facebook. Because I'm like, you know, really, you're, you know, it's like when you say that your friends say it's voodoo and all that stuff, and, you know, and you're not committed, then you really think it's voodoo. You're not committed because you think you don't believe in it. And I see it, you kind of told me. And so that was kind of the reason why my post that I've had the last couple, you know, the last few days. But I said through email that, hey, you know, I just don't, I took you off because you weren't honest. If you say you're not ready for the protocol and it's just not really for you, you like my information and I'm just posting this because, you know, I'm just not fully committed, maybe I might, you know, I would just be like, okay, whatever, and move on. But just to say that, oh yeah, my friends think it's voodoo, why would you blame it on your friends? You just tell me you think it's voodoo, basically. You know, and I don't like dishonesty like that, okay? Just say, hey, because I don't know who is really doing the protocol. So when you're in my group and you're on my Facebook page, I'm assuming you somehow support me in some way. I'm going to make that assumption. So when I see anything that conflicts with the assumptions that I make based upon the information that's given, I'm going to then do something. I'm going to ask you or just post something. I'm not going to press you. But if you respond to me, then you're going to give me the information that I'm looking for. And so anyway, she goes, oh, well, you know, when I emailed her, she's like, oh, I want my $30 back. I'm like, no, that $30 was for when you got entrance for that group in my website. And it was a yearly membership fee that has now since been expired because it was from 2018 to 2019. And then everything after that, hey, if you wanted to get into my secret public Facebook group, that's fine. I can grandfather you in. But I still reserve the right to have you in my Facebook group. But if you want to get in now and you weren't part of that group way back when, then you just give me the receipt for either the $9 for the ebook or for the $20 or the $19. Not that difficult. And she's like, oh, well, yeah, go look at your reviews on Amazon. You better, you know, and I'm just like, you know, I don't do this for reviews. I mean, I would love for people to understand this, and I would love people to not talk smack, but that's not the reality in this world. No matter how good you are, even Mother Teresa or even the most nicest person in the world has people who will be critical. Every person will have somebody critical of their way. It's because we have all different biochemistries that conflict. Okay? So I'm not going to be a lot of people's cup of tea, and I know that, and I'm accepting that. And there's a few people, that's why I have either 1.5 stars or 2 stars, is because the way in which I conduct my group, I reserve the right to have the people that I want around me. I don't work for a corporation where I have to acquiesce to an environment. I create the environment. When you work for yourself, you create the environment. If you can afford to say, hey, I don't want you part of my world, then do it. If you can't afford to be yourself and to create the environment, then you acquiesce to somebody else's environment. And that is the employee-employer mentality. But I'm not an employee. People think, oh yeah, Jillian, you have to act like the customer's always right. No, I'm going to say the customer isn't always right. I'm dealing with many, many customers who aren't always right. And that's the whole premise of the whole J Juice, is that we have the industry that isn't right when it comes to my belief system of indefinite life, which I can substantiate. So I'm not working for a million wonderful reviews right off the bat because I'm going to be conflicting with biochemistry until people understand and realize that their thought process around life and how they deal with their cancer, disease, and chronic illness is a little misaligned. And so now I'm showing the hypocrisy with people's belief systems and what they do, and they can either do something about it or still stick with the way the system does things and the belief system. Okay, so no, it's not going to get me great reviews. I'm going to get downright mean, critical, crappy reviews that are going to be based upon someone else's jealousy, whatever. Okay, and I'm okay with that. And Kevin's going to have to be okay with that, because no matter how nice Kevin comes off, no matter how funny Kevin comes off in the book, he's going to get nasty reviews. And it's not because he didn't create, his part of the book in a wonderful way. No matter what, when someone doesn't like the fact that you are confronting something they're not ready to confront, you're going to piss certain people off. Okay, whatever. And that's part of reaching the masses, is that you're not going to have everybody love you. And so now I have to look at my critics as just another fan base, which I'm learning now, and it's actually not horrible, that it's just another fan base that's getting the information out. And so, yeah, when people message me saying, oh my God, I found this secret public Facebook page that's talking smack about you, and I reported them, I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't give them any energy. But I will, to say thank you for getting my information out. And there's certain things that you're not really characterizing correctly, such as that, as far as the Amish and the vaccinations. So I did go on the page this morning because I happened to be looking for something and it just happened to pop up. So I was just curious to see what they were putting out there. And so, yeah, it's true. The Amish have a very low vaccination rate. Okay, a very low vaccination rate in Ohio. And it's been substantiated by PubMed, or the National Institute of Health. Okay, so my whole thing with the SIDS gene that they found in the Amish community has been recognized, and there is a high rate of SIDS in the Amish, which is why you don't see a huge autism rate or crazy, cancers that people are pissed off at, in the anti-vax world. But that since now is changing because now there's a cure. But remember, for every cure, there's a new disease. And that is the cycle we're on, is curing death with disease and then curing disease with death. Because when we don't have disease anymore, what happens? You die. Or you cure it with another disease. Okay? So here's the thing, an example of curing disease with disease that will turn into death, or curing death with disease and curing disease with death. Okay? Because when somebody so here we go, curing death with disease is when someone is either in utero and they have genes that were really very weak and need help out by medicine. They'll go do stuff and the baby is born, but yeah, they're born premature, but they're hooked up to machines and they're developing in an incubator. No different than when they're using the Coxsackie virus, okay? The Coxsackie virus, which is the enterovirus that in a weak person causes respiratory cancer and issues, or lung cancer, is being used for bladder cancer, okay? So they're taking viruses, which aren't inherently bad, but on weak bodies in our society are inherently bad. We have weak bodies all over. That's what cancer is when you're exposed to viruses, regardless of where you got it from, that affect the weak parts of your body. So when they're using viruses to cure cancer, that's like a Pandora's box. I mean, maybe they'll do tests or ask the person, well, what's your family medical history? Is there lung cancer in your history? But you don't know. I mean, yeah, they'll ask you, do you smoke? What was your jobs in the last 20 years? I mean, what would then give the medical community some kind of idea that you may potentially have trauma or weaknesses in your lungs? I have no idea if there are even tests to figure that out. But when you think about something being promoted to the mass community as a cure, like the Coxsackie virus, as an oncology tool for bladder cancer, there's going to be so many different biochemistries, and the amount of tests that they do with so many different biochemistries, are there indicators to say that a potential for lung cancer, because you're getting a cure for your bladder cancer, could that be the side effect? Okay, so actually I'd be interested, I should see the side effects, or yeah, I don't know, but that will be, if you guys ever see that bladder cancer cure where they're using the Coxsackie virus, look for the side effects, because those side effects will tell you that the viruses and the bacteria are going to impact people who already have weaknesses in those areas. So if glaucoma is a side effect, that means that whatever thyroid medicine you're using is going to, it's like, could be a virus, could be whatever, that's going to affect your vision if you have a weak eyes, okay? Or trauma at any point in time. So when you're curing all of these different diseases with viruses, when you're just looking for a cure no matter what, it's that endless cycle of cures, death, and disease. And so anyway, so I watched a movie this morning, which is about Liberia, and how I came upon this whole curing death and disease is from, or curing death with disease, is the fact that when you have a high infant mortality rate, like in Liberia, and then they come in with vaccines, they come in and help them with clean water, plumbing, antibiotics, so medicine, some kind of justice system. And that's what this guy, David Waines, came in as a missionary, a Christian missionary from Canada, living in Liberia for like 30 years, helping these kids that are dying from malaria. Okay, so it's like the law of the jungle, where it's like the strong survive. It is pure Darwinism. They don't have a very speedy justice system. And it's still, the accusations is what holds up way more than the actual proof behind the accusations. And then, yeah, and kids are being raped, and there's satanic practices that go on. I guess what they were saying, spiritual warfare. What is spiritual warfare? When the death hormones and the life hormones are trying to fight each other, and one's going to win out because of the death hormones are more prevalent. So that's what satanic practices are, is when you are practicing something that is bringing up the death trajectory. And so, yeah, cannibalism and human sacrifice and child rape and all that stuff do happen in third world countries, and it happens in first world America too. And we do definitely prosecute at some point those that commit those crimes, but they're even more in your face in places such as these third world countries. However, the infant mortality rate, the high infant mortality rate in Liberia is declining a bit, but it's still, relative to a developed nation like the West, is still very, very high. But they don't have autism. I mean, when I wrote this thing on my Facebook explaining this video, because this is for the anti-government people and the anti-vaxxers, because they don't realize how good they have it. Okay, they don't realize how good they have it. So the sub-Saharan desert, Liberia, where the law of the jungle, not rule of law, governs the conduct of these rural villages. Though they're trying to bring the justice system in, some kind of justice system, but it's still not very effective like it is in the West. Malaria and starvation and crimes against women and children are abound, but no autism. Higher infant mortality rate than the West. No vaccines. Now, when you have someone like a missionary that came in to help save these children and this village from malaria and rape and all these different crimes, they bring in the vaccines and the antibiotics and all this stuff. So yeah, so missionaries do go in and help with clean water, sanitation, and medicine against malaria, but no cancer, autism, obesity, and diabetes. They're not worried about GMO. They're lucky if they get food, because starvation is huge out there. When you have the rule of the jungle, the law of the jungle, kill or be killed. That's exactly what it's like out there. When you actually watch that movie and you're like, holy crap. Well, that YouTube video, it's like, holy crap. The people in the West who are so entitled and so like they're so used to this lifestyle. And so they're so privileged enough to think that they need to go back to something like this. Anarchy, anti-government, no vaccines, everybody grow their own food and live off grid and have crazy malaria and diseases all over the place, or growing all of these herbal remedies and plying each other with herbs and acids to throw the balance off the body and live where there's like very little plumbing. I mean, going back to before they created the aqueducts, but they'll create the aqueducts if you see an off-grid community, they'll try to revert back to, you know, the Roman days where they were doing that. But then you figure out when you have people who are imbalanced, because here's the thing, here's the kicker. When you bring in like an actual civilized type of community where you have all different agencies and you're saving people from death by giving them vaccines and modern medicine and all that stuff, now you're going to see imbalances. Now you're going to have law enforcement and agencies and things to serve people and a justice system, because you have people with imbalances committing crimes. Okay, we see it all over. We have people who commit crimes against children and each other. Even just stealing my book and pass on the internet is like committing crimes. So we have to have some kind of system, centralized government to keep those that are imbalanced in check. If not, we will have a place like Liberia, where it's the rule of the jungle, kill or be killed. Pure Darwinism, okay? So maybe cancer, disease, and chronic illness in the West is a better future relative to what you'd be experiencing in a sub-Saharan desert. However, you could make your life better instead of feeling entitled, blaming people for your condition. Environmentalists and activists don't know shit when it comes to what truly pollution of the mind manifesting entire populations look like. So you go into places where the rule of the jungle is in the bush, where they're doing human sacrifice, and the people who have the swords and the strength are the ones that are in charge, okay? And though, yes, people here in America, the Second Amendment, you're like, oh my God, if they take away our guns. But look at Australia. Australia has no guns. So no, having no guns doesn't equal that the government's just going to completely genocide a whole population. Okay, that is the paranoia of the conspiracy anti-government as well as the Second Amendment people, okay? But we have so many imbalanced people that it is necessary to have personal protection. But I don't need to have an AK-47 or a cannon to protect my person or my house, okay? So anyways, I said about could anti-fracking be behind propaganda Putin? But anyways, I just had to put that in there. So people in the West do not know how good they have it. We have graduated from the sub-Saharan desert with modern medicine and vaccines, and yet we don't have a high infant mortality rate. But we do have a high rate of cancer, disease, and chronic illness. And now the next step is indefinite life. But you have to feel pain, you guys. But at least you don't have to feel the pain of the sword in parts of the world who are all about the law of the jungle, pure Darwinism with no due process. So that's why we don't become vigilantes out here and attack people for their points of view physically or even like verbally, to where you are now inciting violence against them in the real world. That's what Facebook is cracking down on, is the virtual vigilantism that eventually does translate into then the real world, which is what the Arab Spring and even Hong Kong is experiencing, is that somebody fanned the flames of something, and now they have all these kids in the streets that are terrorizing Hong Kong, completely turn it into chaos. And now the Chinese government has no choice but to go in and lay down the law. And I have to say, I would have to agree, because I know a lot of activists out there are like terrorists because they're so freaking emotional and so imbalanced that they have to blame somebody. And the only way they can get out their, I don't know, feel satisfied is to go out and take to the streets and cause chaos and harm to other people, instead of looking within to figure out what the hell is going on with me. Why would I need to go and hurt somebody else in the name of justice, in the name of my beliefs? Okay, and that's kind of my premise on all my naysayers, is why would you go and hurt people in the name of justice? Okay, I've already been vetted out by my government already. I've already been vetted out by the FBI. Okay, so that's why we have due process. That's why we have specific things that we have to meet. That's why we have things that we can and cannot say when it comes to health and wellness. That's why when it comes to pain mitigation, you have to be be FDA approved when it comes to pain mitigation. And then guess what? J-juice is not about pain mitigation. It's actually bringing up pain through nutrition is what creates the actual healing. So if you are promoting herbs and trying to sell herbs to sell as a cure, that would actually be unlawful. But we're not doing that with J-juice. We're not an MLM. We're just understanding that you got to go through pain. And so yes, the naysayers are screenshotting that question I have in my group about, what did you guys experience when you first did J-juice? And I put everything I experienced, because everyone that does the J-juice is going to be experiencing some form of whatever it is that I experienced, and they might experience even more because they have issues from the past, present, and future. Okay, and so when you have when you have used cures to deal with all of your different symptoms, that created a trauma and destruction to different parts of your organs. So if you take in prescription drugs and you look at the side effects, those systems were affected, even though you may not have gotten the side effect at the time, but you've already created a weakness that may have not come into fruition. So when you think about every single drug you guys ever taken, no matter what, even a holistic remedy that you overdid at some point, or that you're still doing, every single cure that you've ever done based upon you reacting to your cancer, disease, chronic illness, cold, flu, operation, accident, whatever, some whatever triage, that is a weakness, that is a trauma that did not get fully healed. And so that's what you're going to have to experience on J-juice. And people don't want to face that. So when I say curing death, it means that, in the beginning, to even live, okay, especially a baby, that when you change the infant mortality rate to where it's declining, it means that babies that would have died in the bush are now allowed to live because of modern medicine, such as vaccines and, whatever it is, modern medicine. But it's going to then manifest in some kind of anomalous weakness that it could either be obvious to the naked eye or not so obvious. It's based upon what kind of issues that kid already brought into the world. Because reproduction does come from trauma to the body now trying to mitigate extinction. Now, you're not going to see the high rates of autism and obesity and diabetes in a third world nation such as Africa and sub-Saharan desert, because they don't have the luxury of getting diabetes and obesity. They're barely scraping by for food, barely scraping by with medicine. Oh, but the West, we are basically, we're so entitled and so privileged that we are taking on diseases that people only wish they could have in those parts of the world. Okay. And so, and then, so over there in the sub-Saharan desert with vaccines, and they're getting their, they're getting some of they're getting some of the first world issues. But now we have to bring in infrastructure and more, because if you're going to implement vaccines and modern medicine, now you have to have an infrastructure to support those that do have adverse reactions based upon the genetics they already have, and they were saved from death, because it is like curing death when a baby would have died because of SIDS, because they're already too weak, is then miraculously, yes, are able to live, but they have a disability. They may have polio. They may have certain paralysis, but at least they're freaking alive. And now they have a chance at life. And so here in America, we already have the infrastructure. We already have all the services to support every single disease and cancer and whatever it is that people get. And now we're on to the next step. Now it's not about creating more cures, because we already know the cures have already kind of compounded all of the issues, and the gap is closing on how many cures you're going to be doing on a body. So now we have to now entertain a whole different possibility, which is the indefinite life. But that means that you actually have to face the pain. You actually have to face the pain and deal with all the excess acids in your body that you've been harboring because of your stagnated lymphatic system. You have to deal with all the different hormonal imbalances that you sustain because of the way in which you dealt with your cancer, disease, and chronic illness. You have to deal with your over-mineralization or under-mineralization, okay? And people would rather do the shortcuts. Okay, fine. Those are my critics. The ones that don't want to feel pain, the ones that want to take the shortcuts, the ones that have resigned themselves because they're that far gone that they know they have no chance in doing J-juice. So what's better? So how they get their frustrations out? They demonize Julie Juice. They demonize me. They try to terrorize all of you, and they talk smack about me. But in a lot of ways, it's good, because people are getting to know who I am, and they can then make the choice based upon what they hear on my videos. Okay, because when you have two absolutes of life and death, you only got two choices to go. Okay, because for indefinite life, there's indefinite death. We've been buying into the indefinite death in systematic ways, but we've been stretching out the death process for years because of all the cures. But the end result is always going to be the same, because people expect to die, and all the cures cater to the new diseases. Every single cure. So instead of looking for the cure, everybody, and J-juice is not a cure, just so you know, because it's not something that's going to mitigate pain. We're bringing up all the weaknesses, and we're not doing things to manipulate a specific symptom, because we are talking about everything is connected. The purview of the allopathic holistic world is that everything is disconnected. Symptom management. So when you come into my group expecting to only have one certain symptom, or whatever major symptom you have, be the one that's getting addressed and reversed, like right off the bat, my PMDD really did not get addressed until actually last month, when I drank the juice on my freaking period. And I went through the hell that I went through when I had PMDD. Though I had different shades of those symptoms throughout the healing process the last 3 years, but I had so many other issues in my body that need to be addressed before the actual PMDD actually got addressed. At least the major component of the diarrhea and the constipation, because that was one of the biggest symptoms I had to deal with during the 2 weeks prior to my period, back when I had all of those symptoms prior to the protocol. So you may not get your issue resolved in the first year. It may not even be resolved in the second year or the third year, relative to how many issues you bring to the table. So if you're 75, 85 years old trying to do the J-juice, it's not going to take 75 or 85 years to heal, but it's going to be more than a few years. It could be 5 years that you actually heal relatively 100%. And so that is not the stamina in our community in the West, when we're so used to instant gratification. So people go off and on the protocol, and they demonize, they're like, oh, it's not for me, and it's voodoo, and it's this, and it's that. And they'll find every way to justify why they can't endure the healing process, why they can't make it part of their routine. And then they go and elicit other people to then feel the same way, because they know they're too far gone. Many people are too far gone to be able to do the protocol, and then they bitch about it, but they're getting the word out. They're getting the word out. Because let me tell you, if I truly was dangerous and if this was truly poison, the FBI and the OAG and everybody and their mother who's part of an agency would come down on me and shut me down. They're not going to shut me down because cabbage, water, and salt fermentation is not poisonous. It's not anything. What people take issue with is the ideas around it. They're like, oh, she's a scam artist. She's making promises. No, I'm not making promises. I'm giving you a possibility based upon substantiation. Here it is. And we're using statistics already compiled by the WHO. When you have a high infant mortality rate, you have a low rate of cancer, disease, chronic illness, obesity, diabetes. But you have everything else. But you have relatively strong people who do live by the law of the jungle, kill or be killed, pure Darwinism. But that is not how we run our society. We have due process. Vaccines and biotech is like our justice system. It is a due process. It's not, okay, you're weak, you're done. Or we would have a high infant mortality rate in the West. We would hardly have anybody here. We would have very strong people with, and so if we actually did not have the vaccines or modern medicine, most of you guys, if not all of you guys that are watching me right now, would not be here. It would have been left to like the Roman days, where it was the strong that survived. Okay. So we're getting off the train of curing death with disease and then curing disease with death. We're getting off that train. And J-Juice is not a cure. Okay. And you're going to have to endure so much stuff. And yeah, you're going to have to face every single thing that you've ever applied to your body that was basically directly in conflict with your biochemistry that caused more imbalances. You're going to have to get off the activism train. You're actually going to have to pay attention to yourself and not to your neighbor or to somebody else and legislate your morals and try to project all of your imbalances, causing more havoc in your society. You actually have to pay attention to yourself. Oh my God, what a concept, to mind your own business. MYOB is not very popular in the West. But with a J-Juice, you do mind your own business for the most part, because you know you can't convince somebody. When somebody says, oh, I can't convince my friends. Well, you're not exemplifying good health. That's why you can't convince your friends, because you actually cannot be paying lip service to something that you're not even practicing. How do you convince your friends to do J-Juice? You actually got to do it and exemplify it. And a lot of you know that you have very major issues, obese, you're getting older. All of you have obvious issues. And wow, you do the J-Juice, you go through all the healing process, and in 3 or 4 years, you look like you did way back before you had all those issues. That's how you sell the J-Juice if you can't explain the mechanics behind it, because it's going to take a person that understands my information really, and even, Kevin understands for the most part, but there's people that still can't roll this stuff off their tongue, and they've been part of me for a while. So the only way to convince people is to actually be it and do it, and maybe give them my videos, because I can explain better than you can. But if you're not even willing to do that, then yeah, you can't convince friends that you can't even exemplify or even articulate yourself. No duh. But we don't want people to convince anybody. I'm not begging anybody to do this protocol, because let me tell you, if I beg someone to do the protocol, then they escape responsibility, and when it doesn't go right, guess who they blame? Oh, Julia made me do it. She convinced me. Yeah, okay, and that's where that's why we have the medical system, so you can blame and then sue your doctors for malpractice. But you can't sue someone for a recipe that isn't even poisonous. If you don't like recipes out there, like the banana pudding recipe with the vanilla wafers, if you're morally against the vanilla wafers, you're not going to sue the author of the recipe for the banana pudding. You're like, just don't do the recipe. Don't make the banana pudding cake. Oh my God, what a concept. Oh no, but that's not, but no one's going to sue me for the recipe. And if they do, come on, I'm all for it. Countersuit will be fun. But no one's going to do that. Either you do the recipe or you don't. If you have issues and you have major issues and you have weaknesses in your body, you sustain that because there's no viruses in cabbage, water, and salt. It's a probiotic, okay? It has the friendly gut bacteria, or it has the good gut bacteria. It has the good bacteria, okay? You want to call it moldy cabbage juice, whatever. But I mean, this is a probiotic, which is exactly what they asked me back when I was quizzed by the OAG, the Ohio Attorney General. Prove this is a probiotic. I got it tested in a lab, 13 million colony forming units. And it was substantiated by the food lab. That is reputable, out of the capital, Columbus, Ohio, in that area. It wasn't some off the beaten path, some, you know, researcher in a college, which probably would have been fine too. No, it was by a reputable. I paid $100 to get this thing tested. Okay, so it's not poisonous. So the J juice will not give you any viruses. It won't cause you to die. It has minerals, which most people are mineral deficient. So the fact you do J juice, you're now gaining minerals and nutrients and probiotics that you ordinarily would not have anyways, because you have leaky gut, you have malabsorption, you have aging. Okay? And so if anybody wants to sue me, I will make sure this gets out, because it will then be going viral. If I ever get into a lawsuit where someone sues me for whatever, this is when I will actually get the whole process out. And now the world will understand and know, because court cases, especially something like this, will be high profile. You will make me more famous, and I will make sure that you will make me more famous, as well as you, because then you'll look stupid. And that's, I'm okay with all that. But I mean, no one's going to do that. But if they do, I'll welcome it. This will be something that's going to, then I will convert into something for me. And then the people who are getting benefit will come out of the woodwork. People who are getting benefit will come out of the woodwork and be like, oh my God, Jillian is amazing, because I have so many great testimonies, and people will come out of the woodwork. Okay. And I've been through many court cases already since the inception of J Juice. Suing my publisher for misrepresentation and for not holding up her end of the deal, won that, went to another court case for something else and got that taken off because someone was trying to accuse me of something. I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to embarrass her, but she knows who she is. She never showed up to court. So I have no problem taking on everybody, defending and teaching people about the J Juice. No problem at all, because everything that's in the J Juice is substantiated by PubMed, by the government, by the freaking world. And the results are indisputable. But you have to understand what pain is. And this is not antibiotic. Okay? So yeah, people are like, oh, I hope you get sued. Come on, let's do it. Let's dance. But yes, so we are recharacterizing pain. We are recharacterizing a lot of things. And it's like an upset of homeostasis. Not everybody is ready for this information. It blows it blows up their brain. They can't, it's too much. They go on overload. And so the only way they can manage, or how they process the information, is they react and reject versus chilling out and taking responsibility, which is very lacking in our society. But that's because we're so privileged. We're so like, oh, I'm not even entitled, but we don't even know how lucky we are. The anti-vaxxers don't know how lucky they are. If they want to have an anti-vax and no biotech and no pharmaceuticals, they need to go live in Liberia and fend for themselves. They need to go into the bush, because that's exactly what they're looking for, is they want to revert back to the caveman days. But we don't need to go back to the caveman days. Just go to Liberia and be a missionary and be accused of something. Okay? where the accusations hold more value than the actual evidence. And that's exactly what these anti-government, anti-vaxxers, and anti-Jilly Jews really want, is they want to go back to the bush. But we are saying now we're taking we're taking life, and we're taking, we're taking chemistry and biochemistry and giving a nod to, physics and Jonas Salk and all those different leaders before me. And we're now building on what was already proven. But yeah, I did take part in the anti-vax world. And the book that I have right now proves it, that I understand the arguments of the anti-vax, but I've completely changed my whole position on it. I used to be anti-government conspiracy theorist, and I've completely changed my whole premise on it, because now I realize that it is a manipulation. And it doesn't serve any purpose either. And when you really think about it, the fact that you can walk to your mailbox and go to the grocery store says a lot about how organized your government truly is. So regardless of who's in office, I am glad that we still have a justice system. We still have the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. They don't have those types of balances of government in Liberia. But that's what the anti-vaxxers and the anti-government people want. They want to be reverting back to Liberia type of Bush type of system, where it is pure Darwinism, kill or be killed. And I'm not going back to dystopian. There's no freaking way we're going to do that. And our government won't allow it either. So, so the J Juice gives you clarity of thought. And J Juice gives you clarity of thought. And that's all I want, is to give people the opportunity to now fix themselves if they think there's something broken. If you think that you're perfectly great and you're wonderful, and then don't do it. That's fine. But as soon as the bottom falls out, we're here. Okay? As soon as the bottom falls out, you're here. You know that we're here. Let me see what else I put on here. Oh, yeah. Curing, got that. Okay. Yeah, but that video, the CBC, man, the Canadian Broadcasting Company, oh my God. They have and they don't have any commercials. They have some great information, and it gives you a different perspective. I mean, they do 60 minutes, and they do like the Fifth Estate and all of that, and it's just such good information. It gives you a totally different perspective on the world, to where you're like, wow, okay. And here's the thing, is that I happen to have these weird dreams. Anyways, I had dreams that I was somewhere. I had dreams that somewhere else where I wanted sugar to get shipped to me or something, or another dog. Like I was somewhere far away. And then this morning, I found this video about Liberia, and so the CBC, because I like early in the morning when I wake up, I'm like, okay, I can't sleep. It's 2:30. All right, what do? I go to my YouTube, and I find stuff that has no commercials, because I can't stand every 2 seconds a stupid ad comes up. I just don't even watch. That's why there's no ads on my YouTube videos, because that would be freaking annoying for those who are trying to get information, especially when I have videos that are like 48 minutes long. Okay, do you really want to have 5 these ads are running forever? Forget that. So I watched this, and it had a talk about Liberia, and that was what I posted, because it didn't say in the video about that this is about Liberia. It just shows that the story or something of David Waines, and I'm like, okay, I've seen his video. I've seen the title of the video for a while, because it's going through like my little newsfeed thing on my YouTube, but it just didn't seem interesting. So I don't know who the hell this guy is or what they're gonna talk about, and I really don't like all these murder shows or murder stuff. But I was like, okay, I'm running out of stuff to watch on the CBC. Let me check this out. And it was talking about the sub-Saharan desert in Africa, Liberia. And I'm like, oh my God, I just posted the stats of the decline of the infant mortality rate due to vaccines in Liberia. And it shows, yeah, even though it's still very high, of course, they're number 1 in the highest infant mortality rate in that region of Africa, as well as the world. But it is declining. The overall infant mortality is declining. But when you have a low infant mortality rate, or the high infant mortality rate is declining to now it's being low. But when you have a low infant mortality rate, then you're going to have a high rate of disease. You're going to have autism and all the other stuff. Okay? And especially when these third world nations are now bringing in Western food, Western medicine, Western whatever. And so that's when you have to have infrastructures to support then the imbalances of society. Because when you go outside and you look at the strip malls, you look at the big buildings, and you look at what all these companies are doing, they're supporting the different fluctuations of your hormones and how it manifests. And also the organization of society, civilization. You have to have banks, a place to put your money so you're not stuffing your mattress full of dollar bills. You got to have a pharmacy. You got to have a grocery store. You got to have a toy store. You got to have a party store. You got to have a gym because people want to like run around. You got to have all these different things to support people's imbalances. You got to have your yoga studios and your Pilates, and then your juice bars, and then your meat bars, and and then the bars, alcohol bars, and then the pool, like the YMCA, and then the pool halls, and then the dance clubs for those that want to go get get drunk and go dancing. I mean, then you have a actual metropolitan civilization to cater to the imbalances. Then you have to have a justice system. And you have a psychiatric system, the medical system, the outpatient, inpatient. You got to have the mail system. You got to have a government like the IRS. You got to have, everything, every government agency that does the EPA, the USDA, the CDC. That measures that's where civilization comes from. When you save people's lives, when you lower the infant mortality rate. When you have a high infant mortality rate, then it's the rule of the jungle. And this is where the whole thing with the George Bush is that we are now being governed, okay? The rule of law, not the rule of the jungle, will govern the conduct of nations, okay? That's what he's talking about. We don't want to have pure Darwinism, where it's kill or be killed, vigilantism, which is what some people are trying to take us back to because of, guess what, the spiritual warfare, the hormonal warfare, the people that are on the death trajectory that want to take people down with them, but they're trying to look good doing it, working out. Oh, anti-government. Let's just basically take away any law and order of our society, turn it into chaos with no vaccines and no modern medicine, no GMO, no biotech. Then go move to freaking Liberia. Then you want to see exactly what you're promoting. Anti-vaxxers, anti-government, who hate infrastructure, who want to live off grid. You want to live off grid and understand really, truly what it is you're promoting? Go to Liberia. That's exactly what you're promoting. Okay? Where kids are being victimized, where there really isn't a very strong justice system. And so when I watched that video this morning, I was like, oh my God. So the universe does talk to me. It lets me know, because I'm telling you, there's so many videos on YouTube, and I wasn't looking for any videos on Liberia, especially to prop up my case, but it was just so like, it was kismet. It was by design. The universe was letting me know, here, watch this video. It's going to support your whole premise around the curing of the death with the vaccines. And then, with the vaccines and with curing death, you're going to have disease. But it's better than being dead, right? Yeah, it's better than being dead. Better have a disease than be dead. That's the whole premise with the autism. You got to get the vaccines because you might be dead. When you have a weak ass body where you would get autism from whatever, it's not from the vaccines, it's from the viruses that are in the environment. But the viruses are so strong that a body that gets autism, for whatever reason, would have died if it didn't have some kind of layer of protection. And so how does a body protect itself against dying? It finds a way to find alternative pathways, and it's going to manifest in anomalies. Okay? And so do you see Down syndrome in Liberia? Down syndrome is a first world issue. Even like in China, because they have a lot of, China's like a first world in a lot of ways. But you don't see Down syndrome in Africa, in Liberia. You don't see autism in Liberia. because it's kill or be killed. Only the strong survive. But this is where Bill Gates and the Rockefeller medicine are saying, okay, we don't want to have the rule of the jungle. We really want the rule of law, so we don't have victims. And the people who are weak, they can still get protection. Like kids and the elderly can still get protection. And so that's why we have now these leaders, the royals, as well as the American government. And so, you know, the whole Bilderberg stuff, yeah, titans of industry trying to figure out where to take the world. Then you have like this whole thing with, oh God, they're going and doing these child sacrifice stuff. Yeah, there's people that do that too. And that have ties to the government. Okay, they do that shit, yes. But they're also doing good and keeping you guys relatively, we still have a justice system. Stuff is going to come to the surface. It's not that it's like, you know, people do stuff. People are people. They do child sacrifice in Liberia. There's secret groups that do that. And it doesn't mean it's right. And there are people that don't want that to happen. And there are people that do that, you know, in the West. And the people that don't want that to happen. Doesn't mean that that's the whole premise of our government or the royals. They're not reptilian. Okay? So yeah, I was reading an article about the whole thing with the Epstein and how these conspiracy theories and memes and everything else have really gone out of control. Has considerably gone out of control to where it now is running everything. And then you have politicians that are fanning those conspiracy theories. And people who have nothing else to do but fan the flames of conspiracy because they're so sick. And I was one of them too. So that's how I know. So that's why I don't want anybody on my Facebook page or in my group fanning flames of conspiracy. And then what you post on your Facebook is exactly what you support. How I know this? Because I had proof yesterday when this girl who basically said she wasn't committed to the protocol, but she's in my group, she's on my page watching my videos, but she's posting about turmeric and honey. And then you have the naysayers are posting on my videos. They're supporting me. But the ones that don't support me don't even talk about me. Okay? And I know some people are like afraid, and I don't, you know, whatever. I get it. But at some point, you have to take a stand for not only yourself, but for your friends and family at some point. But even if you don't, here's the thing, even if you don't want to risk the backlash from your friends and family, why would you put turmeric and honey? And that was really my whole point was like, okay, fine, I get it. You don't want to put my stuff out there because it's too controversial. I get it. But why would you put turmeric and honey? Why would you lead your friends down that path when you know it's a total, but it's not that she knew it was bad. She just doesn't believe my stuff. Okay. So whatever you post on Facebook is what you support. Even though you say you support me, which is fine. I get it. Okay. You say to my group, okay, fine. On my page, okay, fine. But when you look at what people post on their Facebook or what they don't post, when people says nothing on their Facebook, they're holding the cards and they really only support themselves and nobody really else, unless they actually have to. So what you say, what you don't say on Facebook tells me exactly what you support, what you don't support, especially on your wall. And if you're supporting turmeric and honey and holistic, then you really aren't supporting J juice, because it really does come down to those two things. You know, you really, I mean, to put turmeric and honey along with the J juice doesn't make sense. It's not even on the protocol. Okay. So that's why I don't get caught up in all of the conspiracy stuff and the Epstein stuff. But yeah, that article was very interesting. It was through Yahoo, and how these conspiracies around Epstein is just gone way out of control, way out of control. And I would have to agree, because we don't know what happened. We don't. And there's no point in speculating. You'll never know the truth. No matter how much it comes out in the news, you'll never know the truth. So what truth will you know? The truth of J juice, because you'll either do it or you won't do it. That's really the only truth you can really rely on, is what you actually see and experience in your own biochemistry. And then that will change the truth of the world for you. So the truth will be the truth based upon your biochemistry. And if you think the truth is that people are killing each other and doing all this stuff, well, they probably are. But you're not in any danger unless you put yourself in danger. It's your biochemistry that's going to put you in danger or put you into safety. Okay? So why even speculate about Epstein when you're not even affiliated with it? Because you're bored. And you're not paying attention to your world. But anyway, it's enough of me preaching. But yeah, so I'm going to end on this. What you put on Facebook, regardless if you put your name behind it, if you hide behind a public page, like the Jilly Juice Secret Group public page, you support J Juice. And I appreciate the support. Regardless of how you characterize it, I appreciate the support because you're giving people the opportunity, which I don't even get with people who even support me are not even putting me on their page, and they support me. So my naysayers actually support me more than some people that are on my page. You realize that? That's the whole irony about people that love me and hate me. The love and hate are interchangeable. There are people that are on my page doing my protocol that are not even supporting me publicly on their page. But my naysayers are. So my naysayers are actually the ones that are substantiating their support more than me, my own people that say they support me. Okay? So just understand that. I see that. So anyways, but that's really it. I just wanted to make that known and make all of that known. But yeah, you can cure death with disease and you can cure disease with death. But what about life? What about life? So let's get off the curing death and disease and curing disease with death and all that stuff. Get off that train of cures and let's actually promote indefinite life. And that means you got to face your own pain. And if you can't face your own pain, then you'll be on that train, which I got off of that train. All right, bye.